Right.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very impressive scene. What was the point and the message of the Eiffel Tower, which was a wall of rocks that they climbed?
Well, that was that. I know that Jim Hart, who was one of the writers, Jim has kind of danced around immortality in his movies. He wrote Dracula for Francis Coppola, and he wrote Contact for Bob Zemeckis, and he's kind of dealt around. He's dealt with the theme of immortality at times. So. That was something that it was like a particular that he thought of to bring, because that was, it was something that Jesse would have seen in his world travels, and she had not, again, being the cloistered, overprotected daughter, she hadn't really been outside that fence. So that was his way of conveying, there's a big world out there, and there's an Eiffel Tower, wait till you see it. And the so and we had this big sort of hill of rocks, and we thought we could, that could be the stand-in for the Eiffel Tower. It's funny, Jim and I had talked about is there a sequel to the film, because the Tucks do live forever, and we thought about, if there were, that maybe Jesse and Winnie could meet, on the real Eiffel Tower, at some point. But anyway, we haven't been able to make that yet.
Yeah, fire away, Christina.
Where did you see the movie when it first premiered, or your first full viewing of the film?
Well, I'll tell you the story on that. I had a cut of the film that pretty much told the story, but there were I couldn't I knew there was something I wanted to do differently by the way the film began, and I just wasn't quite sure what to do with it. And I'd watched the cut too many times myself, and I needed some fresh eyes on it. So, and I was mentioning before you came on the air there, Christina, if you see the poster behind me, there's a poster for Badlands behind it. And I'd had the great opportunity to meet Terrence Malick, who directed that film. And Terry had really loved My Dog Skip and was very complimentary of it. And so when I had this cut and I wasn't quite sure what to do with, I just figured, well, the worst he could say is no. And so I asked Terry Malick if he would watch the film and see if he had any ideas. So I set up a screening at Disney one night, and the screening consisted of me and Terrence Malick, who sat right up front in front of the screen, and I was in the back of the theater. So I ran the film. And when the film was over and the curtains closed, Terry just sat there staring straight ahead. And I thought, and didn't say a word for it seemed endless. And I thought, oh my God, he must have really hated this movie because he doesn't even know what to say. And so I was just in a panic and thought, how do I just get out of this? And then he finally turned around and he said, I got a couple of ideas. And the one thing that I was struggling, and I didn't tell him this in advance, and one of the things I was struggling with is it seemed like it was taking too long to get Winnie and Jesse together, because in the book and in the way the script was written, it was kind of a linear thing. We just started with the story with Winnie at her house, and we had to go through all of that, and then finally she would run away, and then she would meet Jesse. But then that was 20 minutes or so deep into the film. And I always felt that took too long, but then I wasn't sure what else to cut out. And then Terrence Malick came up with the answer, which, well, and he didn't, and it wasn't an answer in well, I think you should start with this shot or this shot. He just said, well, he comes back to see her in the end of the movie. Is there a way that he could see her at the very beginning of the movie, even though they haven't met? And that was his question to me. Can he meet her even though they haven't met? And I thought, wow, that's a great question. Let me think about that. And the answer was that that's when we set up sort of the bookend of the piece, so that we see Jesse coming and we don't know who he is, and we just know it's some kid on a motorcycle who comes and sees the house at the beginning, and obviously there's some connection to that house, but we don't know what it is, and we dissolve from Jesse's face to Winnie, so we put them together like 20, 15 minutes before they actually meet. And I felt that kind of solved the problem I had. And I just thought that was just a brilliant, even like I say, it was just a question that he asked. But sometimes questions are the best things rather than statements. And he just asked the perfect question, which caused me to think about that different opening. So that's one example. And that was one of the first times that I had, screened it with other than with just the team, the people involved in making the film. And then after that, the film came together. We had a very nice screening. The first time with a big audience, we did it at the Toronto Film Festival. It was a special screening at the Toronto Film Festival, and with the cast there and all that. And that was a whole lot of fun.
What was the audience reception like when the movie premiered?
Well, like I say, it was at the Toronto Festival, which is known to be. I mean, one of the reasons filmmakers love to take films to the Toronto Festival is known to be a really audience friendly. It's they're much more open to all kinds of different films than say like the Cannes Festival or the Venice Festival or something like that. And so yeah, they loved the film, and we all went away, feeling good about it. And then, we had our premiere at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood, which was fun, and which was a Disney owned theater, but it was a great old theater that they had renovated. So that was the sort of the official premiere.
Good to hear. Fire away, Christina.
Yeah, on that note, Jay, I want to say that because the book Tuck Everlasting was one of the novel reads at my elementary school. So I read the book myself in 5th grade.
Me
And
too.
so I want to say when the movie did premiere at the El Capitan, that class got to go on a field trip to
Oh,
actually
you're
see the
kidding.
movie at the El Capitan, which was so memorable.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
I
cool.
believe it was a year or two after I had moved along and read the book, but definitely one that I've remembered, all these years after.
Oh, how
Um,
about that?
yeah, really, really cool times.
And
Go ahead.
And when I was 4 years old, that's when the movie came out. So I was taken to the movie by a relative, but I don't remember it obviously until I saw it again years later. But then in elementary school and in 5th grade, just like Christina, it was introduced to me, and then we watched the movie afterwards. And they did the same thing when we read Because of Winn-Dixie. Once
All
we
right.
read it, they showed us the movie that came out because of it. So it was the same with that. And it had a huge impact on me. And I'm really grateful for Miss Allison Scappin, my teacher, that introduced me to the story.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, no, it's the because of that, and again, I have Natalie to thank for that. Because of her wonderful book that is taught in so many schools, it's really kept the film alive too for all the years. Because almost, I mean, practically to a person, every teacher that teaches the book ends up showing the movie as well, because then they can discuss the differences between the book and the movie and blah blah blah. So yeah, no, it's I was really that's just a great feeling to know that the film just sort of is immortal in its own way, because it just gets taught over and over and over again.
Yeah, for sure. Have any final thoughts, Christina?
Just wanted to ask what your experience working with Disney or under Disney's production, what was that experience like for the film?
Well, as I mentioned, the project was initiated by the then creative head. Her name is Nina Jacobson. Now, Nina, is a producer. After she left being a studio person, she became a producer in her own right, and she produced the Hunger Games movies. Was her big hit. But Nina was, she initiated the project. She was extremely supportive. I've had good experiences with studio people throughout the years, but I don't know that I've ever felt as supported by someone running a studio as I did, with Nina on that project. I mean, because never fails. If I ever see her at anything, she never fails to just say again how much she loves the movie, and that's a good feeling as a director, because that isn't always the case, with studio personnel. She was great. So yeah, it was a good experience. And then I turned right around and made another film with Disney after that, and very different film, which was over there, Ladder 49, which is a big action firefighter movie, and very different film. But it was still with Nina, and she was very supportive of that as well. It was just a very, very different kind of movie.
Yeah, for sure. So that's all we have for now, but we thank you for coming on.
Oh no, it's fun. It's fun. It's fun to revisit it. It's been a while. Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely. Thank you for your
So,
time today, Jay.
Jay, final question, which is, how can this story of yours impact the world?
Well, I hope it impacts other people the same way it impacted me, which has made me think about what is the most important aspects of life. There's the line in the movie, which everyone seems to remember. I certainly remember it, which is, don't fear death, fear the unlived life. And that's a great theme to live by, I think. So I hope if anyone sees the film and that resonates with them, well, then I've done my job.
Yeah, for sure. That's great to hear. So, yeah, we thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Nice meeting
Thank
you
you,
guys.
Jay.
Nice meeting you. So, everybody, please check out Christina on her Facebook. Check out Jay Russell on IMDb. And also, everyone, before we head out, I want to say a special uh, mention to the 5 people that are missing in the submarine that vanished over the Titanic. We sure hope that they'll be found and that they'll be reunited with their loved ones. And we hope something like that doesn't ever happen again. But yeah, we thank you for watching RNU, and we'll see you next week for the next episode.